good afternoon to everybody, and nice to meet you all. I think I've met some of you, spoken with some of you we're brand new acquaintances, so really good to meet you all. I just wanted to start off first of all, going round everybody, a quick introduction as to who you are and what you're currently working on in connection with Carnival and the Carnival community, and that's the global Carnival community. So I'll go around based on how I can see people on my screen. Ali, you're closest, so could you kick off, please?
Hi, everyone. Really nice to see you. I'm Ali Pretty. I'm the Artistic Director of Kinetica, which is nearly 25 years old now. We used to be based in London. I worked with Ray for many years, doing Carnival with South Connections and working on the Millennium Dome productions. And in 2014, we moved to a place called Thurrock, which is in Essex, where we have a really fantastic studio, which allows us to make beautiful silks. And I kind of said, oh, I think I'm done with Carnival. However, Carnival followed me to Essex, and I discovered that I was really close to a place called Tilbury, which is obviously famous to you guys as the home of the Windrush arrival in 1948. And Tilbury used to have a carnival which stopped, I think, in the 90s, and it was more like one of the English carnivals funded by the port, floats. But there was this guy, Les, who's an ex-doctor, who said, Ali, he sort of saw my Notting Hill photos, Ali, we've got to have Carnival in Tilbury. I was like, nah, finish with that, man. Anyway, it ended up that I said, okay, after several years, and we made a model of a puppet made on Les the docker, and so now there's a Tilbury docker puppet, and that led to the explosion or the rejuvenation of the Tilbury Carnival in 2019. And so one of the things that we're doing this year is building on that connection. Obviously, we couldn't have Carnival in 2020, and we can't have a full Carnival in 2021, but it led me to have a conversation with Anthony Joseph, who is a fantastic writer who wrote the biography of Lord Kitchener. And I had a conversation with him and said, Anthony, we have to rewrite this tune, London is the place for me. We have to rewrite a new tune called Tilbury is the place for me, imagining how Tilbury could be if Carnival really kind of exploded. So we're working with Anthony Joseph and young people in Tilbury to write the lyrics of a new calypso, and with Ruben Fox of the Connecticut Blocko to work with people to arrange a new tune, which will be premiered on the 1st of August in Tilbury Fort. And I really feel there's a carnival thing that's going to happen in Tilbury in the next few years.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for that, Ali. Ray, you're next on my screen.
So everyone, I'm Ray Mahibar. I'm the Artistic Director of Sunshine International Art, and I started my career as a carnival artist in Britain with Ali. 24 years ago, 23 years ago, something like that, a long time ago. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. So I came here, I think it's in 1998, worked with Ali. We co-designed bands for South Connections at Notting Hill. And now I run the company called Sunshine International Arts. And that is based in Brixton, Loughborough Junction, Brixton. So I run a center called CAFE, Carnival Arts for Everyone. So I had the idea in 2012 to create a space where people can see Carnival made, or the average person can come into a mass camp throughout the year. So the center is actually a mass camp that's run for throughout the year, not only based around Carnival. And anyone and everyone can come and get involved in Carnival. At present, we've been closed since March 2020. Sorry, the 20s, 21, 22s is a bit confusing sometimes. And we are looking to start back up operating from sometime soon. And we're looking at going online. We're looking at a lot of the company's work has been based nationally and internationally. But what I'm refocusing on now is the local community and getting more carnival in my local community, which is Brixton. And you may think, oh, Brixton has a lot of carnival. There isn't that much carnival history. There's a lot of history, but there isn't a lot of activity happening. So the company itself is refocusing on actually producing work locally with local communities. That's about it. So it's looking at online, looking at supporting young artists, young upcoming artists and developing new work around Carnival locally. That's where I am.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'll move over to you now, Pax.
But I dread these moments, especially looking at Ali and
Don't
Ray. It's a challenge. Yeah, my name is Pax Nandi. I'm original from Zimbabwe. I came in England 1985 just as an innocent musician. That's all I was going to do. And now I'm finding myself doing nothing but Carnival. In Zimbabwe, when I came 1985, we didn't have anything called Carnival. But if you see what we do in my village, you would say that's the best Carnival I've ever seen. But now everything's been packaged as Carnival because they realize the tourism and potential and all that kind of stuff in a country that has struggled a lot because of Mugabe's politics. So here in England, I think most of my main thing in Carnival, I started when I was in the Arts Council of England, where I worked there as a combined arts officer, and somebody had done a position paper on Carnival with a lot of recommendation, but nobody did anything about it. So I took that. And then I ended up working with that. And then after that, I ended up with 3 international conferences. I ended up with 10 artists going to all over the world. We sent artists all over the world, like Trinidad, Brazil, and so on. And then I also ended up writing the National Carnival Strategy for the Arts Council. I think it's the only one, the first and last, because they haven't done anything since then. And also now I work independently. I was running the Hackney Carnival for the last, I think I did it for 6 years or 7 years, I think. And also I'm the artistic director for Accra Carnival in Ghana. And then I also advise the sports and department in South Africa, where I help them also with their strategy. And then here recently, I think, because I could just go on and on forever, but I'm also the vice president of the World Carnival Commission, which is based in Canada. But recently, in terms of all my works and all COVID hitting up, I started something called Jankanu. That's become a platform for most of the Carnival people. Every week for 4 hours we broadcast. It takes me 3 days and we're doing voluntary, so we might be stopping soon because it's too much work. But that's been something that sort of I have used to hold the Carnival community together. We chat with very interesting people like Ali Pretty, like Ray of Sunshine, talking a lot of rubbish and so on, and we put it there. Anyway, I think I'll stop there because currently I'm also the artistic director for the Cowley Road Carnival in Oxford, and I'm also the artistic director for Harley International Carnival. And Hackney is going to happen, but at the moment we are all freelancers, so we haven't been called to do the job. So that's where I am.
Thank you, Pax. Tola, good afternoon. You're on mute at the moment.
Yeah, I must apologise for all this jumping around. First of all, it was my dog. You have a dog. My dog was playing up, and now I was trying to sort out my connection. So I really apologise for my messing about. So I always feel when I'm in a meeting like this, I always feel like a complete fraud because I'm not a carnival artist. I'm actually a hanger-oner or a camp follower, something more like that. So I'm Tola Dabri. I'm very new to Carnival. I started in Carnival working with Pax at the Carnival Centre in Luton. And I was the manager of the Carnival Archive project. And I thought, wow, what is this incredible world that I've been brought into? And I don't want to leave, and I've never left. So I do various bits of work with Carnival. So last year, I got some funding, luckily, with my friends. We got some funding from the Arts Council. We did Carnival in a Box, which was the digital Carnival project where we went out and we saw like crowdsourced videos that we could put online about Carnival. We did some activities. We tried to do a bit of history and culture about Carnival as well. And we also did some featured artists, of which Ray was one, sort of like try and showcase the work of really exceptional Carnival artists. And Ali, I'm afraid we were too late, so we're running out of money, but hopefully we will get some more money and we'll come back this year or next year and do it again. So I manage Carnival in the Box. I manage the Carnival Archive project. I'm also becoming an academic. So I've just finished a PhD at Leeds Beckett about British Caribbean Carnival and looking at Carnival as intangible cultural heritage as opposed to art or performance. So it's really about the people of Carnival and particularly the traditions from the Caribbean and the preservation of African masquerading traditions in Caribbean Carnival that we can see in Britain as well. What else would I do? I do various bits of freelance work. So at the moment, I'm writing a report which should have been delivered to them last week very behind, to for Leeds West Indian Carnival about artist spaces. So I do all sorts of other stuff as well. I'm a freelance consultant, but my love for Carnival is deep. And I always tell this story, so I'll just tell it to you as well. I had an interview at the National Archives, and I had 6 questions, and I answered them all about Carnival. I didn't get the job. That's
Fair
me.
enough.
Nothing new there.
Fair enough. Thank you so much, Tola. Alan, come on to you.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm with my colleague Blessing as well. He'll say a few words himself. He's currently a bursary holder with Elimu, so it's just joining in this discussion with us. I'm Alan Vaughan. I'm a designer. I'm an artist. I'm a Moko Jumbi. I have a band in Trinidad, which I founded called Moko Somoko, which is the current mini band of the year. I've won the Queen title twice with my designs in Trinidad. And we have a group here in the UK called Origin Moko Jumbis, which Blessing's a member of. And we perform all over and we take part in different things across the country. We normally play Notting Hill with Elimu Mass Band. So that's what we do. Make costumes, perform Moko Jumbi. This year I never went to Trinidad and I'm missing it sorely, but we're planning something later in the year and for next year. So that's who I am.
Thank you. Thanks to all of you for that. So, I mean, I'm sure you'll all agree we could talk endlessly about Carnival, its breadth and its depth, but the focus of this discussion is creativity in Carnival. And I really just wanted to generate a really good discussion amongst all of you about creativity. So just to kick things off, a question that I wanted to ask all of you, and please feel free to sort of, I don't want to be having an orderly queue, let's just jump in and have the conversation, but how has the physical disconnection that we've had to endure because of lockdown and COVID, how's that impacted or changed the way you all have channeled your creativity? Polo, I think you put your hand up there first.
Well, I just think, well, for me, it was actually an opportunity to be creative. Like I say, I'm not an artist, but we were able to create something and curate something of Carnival, even though it wasn't Carnival. So like I say, I'm always that one distance behind, but it actually allowed me to feel creative in Carnival. I'm not a designer, performer, or anything like that. So I think that was good. The other thing is that we didn't have the chance to develop the augmented reality products that we wanted to do around Carnival. So holograms and costumes that have sort of like augmented reality, sort of like motions coming out of them that you can view through an app. That's all something that we want to work on. So for us, in a way, it was an opportunity to actually participate in the creativity of Carnival.
Pax, I feel like you were going to say something.
I was going to say something. I was going to say 2 things. The other one is to answer your question, but the first one is it's troubling me. Tola, can you just tilt your computer just a bit so we could see a bit more of you? It was bothering me for hours.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to, you can't see the mess behind me. That's what I'm trying to hide.
We've seen it,
Yeah,
right?
so I think in terms of Carnival, there is a challenge in sort of saying as artists, because I think Ali and everybody can agree with me that some of the stuff we do is not artists, but some of the stuff we do are artists. I myself, every year I go and perform in Brazil throughout Carnival time. Or Ghana, which I started recently. So I couldn't do that because of that. I was also touring with a band called Attack. Some of you might know the band. We would, like last time we toured, we did 52 cities around the world. So when this thing kicked off, that was disaster. And then also Carnival, like Hackney and the other carnivals I'm involved in, that couldn't happen at all. So I would say the negative part of it was the losing some earning of money, because as far as the government is concerned, they would announce that any business that's gone bankrupt, come to us. I went bankrupt as soon as they say we can't do any touring. I lost 52 cities for which we're going to do, and we're going to tour America for 3 months. We lost all that. So as artists, it's very difficult for us to be accommodated the way the government, because the government is doing their best to look after people. But when it comes to me, how do I explain that I'm bankrupt? I just lost these gigs. That as far as the government is concerned, is that. So there was that challenge. But for me, there's been a lot of positive things. I think people like Ali can agree with me in terms of this COVID thing, that there is certain things that we do that we're doing wrong. And for locally, my local park here, when I go with my grandchildren, I don't allow them to touch the water. It was really filthy. When I was going there recently, the water is so clear that I could actually allow them to touch it. So there's certain things, the environment that's changed, that's actually, we're forced to change and actually work in this way. The other thing is, most of us, we get stuck into this one thing. This forces people to sit down and actually think of other things. So in my particular case, I stopped doing videos like 20 years ago. All of a sudden, last year I was busy. I live streamed Leicester Carnival, I live streamed Hackney, I live streamed the Oxford Carnival as well. So all this stuff I learned through this lockup. So there was a certain element of actual reorganizing and looking at yourself. Another example is the Oxford Carnival. Every year when we do it, there's not enough time to recruit staff. There's not enough time. Just we finish, then you move to the next thing. There's never any time to breathe. When this thing happened, we had enough time to sit down with the board, away day, look at things and so on. So the only thing that I worry about is a lot of us are going to go blind because I do my recipe on the computer. I speak with you on the computer. When I finish, I'm going to say to you, look, I need to go away because I need to meet my son, computer. So that's only what I've got, but there's been advantages in this, especially in the environment and also the way we do. We're forced to go to work every day. Companies are finding out that I can actually deliver my work at home and they can trust me now because we're forced to learn how to do it. So that's how I look at it. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alan,
yes.
Yes. For me personally, it's obviously I've really missed the live interaction and the excitement of what the special is of Carnival. But as the others have said, it did give us an opportunity to say, well, what can we do? And we were lucky in between various bits of lockdown and tears that we'd made a short film, very kind of haphazard, and we'd never done it before. And we had a morning when it actually stopped raining was our whole shooting scenario. Grey skies, everything, but it didn't rain. But Blessing here did the music for the film. We made something from it. We actually created a new product. We created something different. And we're in the process of doing another one now. So that was, for us, it was, perhaps it gave us a chance to do something like that, which normally it goes from one thing to another thing, and we didn't get that chance. So yeah, we're looking at it positively. And in a sense, also giving, I was supposed to produce a mass for Trinidad this year. Now I have an extra year to think about that mass. So it's going to be even better next year.
Fantastic.
So we look forward, that having the space has been useful,
Yeah, no, I'm gathering that as a theme. Ali, I saw you pop your hand up as well.
Yeah, I think obviously have missed being out and about and seeing people, and also missed traveling in reality. But I think we have all learned a lot more about how we can work internationally. So one of the things that I was really excited about, I was invited to be part of a seminar in West Bengal with artists that I had worked with in Calcutta. And I was actually like zoomed into a village festival where people were playing music and, and designing work and things. And it was really powerful that I could actually just meet this embroiderer artist that I'd met in India for real. And she's like, hi, Ali, and I just felt like I was almost in this village in Calcutta. And, I would, to think that prior, you have to get on a plane and then perhaps be on a bus for 2 days to get to this village, So it means that actually maybe you can access, and it was brilliant because, they all work just off their phones, but, there they are zooming into me in London, and it made me feel really close to them. So it makes me think differently about how I can work internationally in the future. Obviously we still want to go and be in a physical space with other artists, but you can keep those relationships going in between times. And so I think it could be really exciting to think about where that might lead the work. So, and I was also on another really incredibly creative 2-day seminar with Together Production. So we're doing a project called Singing Our Lives, and they're exploring how would we create a global opera working with people and artists from different parts of the world. So again, there was another artist from Calcutta, an artist from Johannesburg, and there was about 60 of us in the space, and it was led by Improbable. And I felt really quite intimately connected with people that I had met before in the way that was managed. And again, so that led me with, you know, a lot of optimism for how we might work in the future.
Fantastic. I think there's a huge sort of almost a reimagining of time and space that we've had because of this, and it's almost like we just simply have more time, which is one of the positives, and we're able to sort of move around in a much freer way virtually, and taking Pax's sort of point about us all going blind because we're staring at screens, but nevertheless it's a nice thing. Ray, how about yourself and sort of creativity over this period?
Well, because we were close, so normally winter is not the best time for the company. So we normally start producing our Notting Hill costumes January, February, March. So the production, our major production starts there. So in the beginning of 2020, we started our production because it starts from October. So what happened was we were able to start 2020 in Notting Hill already. So that's sitting there. As Alan said, you have more time. But the lockdown actually gave the company the opportunity to go back to things that I had put aside to do for a long time. So we were able to stock check 20 years of costumes and bring out 20 years of costumes. We are now recycling, reusing, and looking at where we can take all the work. So that was one of the major things the company was able to do. But for us, and for me, what happened throughout lockdown was there was a bigger connection. So we had a more intimate connection with our local community because there was a lot of rapid emergency response and stuff. So we built a stronger community connection throughout the last year then, working that. And also as a mass band, I found that so normally the mass band would come together June, July, August, but throughout the year, we had a more intimate connection because of people trying to figure out what was happening, people things. So the actual, what we call Sunshine Family for the Carnival group grew a little stronger because it was more connection throughout the year because they've already started to look at, are we going to have Carnival in 2021? So the pandemic gave us stronger bonds with my community, my local community, and as an organization, as a Carnival group, it strengthened our bond then. And like for instance, last year, August, what I did is we did an online document of all the history of Carnival, the history of Notting Hill. And also what I did, I was able to document some of my older members' knowledge of Carnival coming from Trinidad, Notting Hill, and today's stuff. So we had documentation, there's stronger community. So for us, yes, the pandemic is a negative aspect in our everyday lives, but it brought people together. And I think it has strengthened. And I suppose that is the main concept of Carnival. Carnival is about community. So for Sunshine, it gave us a stronger community feeling. That's why I'm looking to develop more local work going beyond 2021 and whatever comes after that.
Thank you. I think one of the themes that I'm picking up and something in reading about most of you actually in terms of direction you're going in is about sort of the role of technology in the creative process around Carnival and just how that's really, I think that was something that's always been a case, but I think certainly the last 12 months has really upped our ability and our creativity around technology. And Tola, just thinking about Carnival in a Box, and you mentioned very, very briefly about the augmented reality element of that project. I just really wanted to hear a little bit more about that because I came across that on the website and found that very interesting.
Yeah, the idea of Carnival in a Box began about 10 years ago, actually, when I was working at the Carnival Centre, when we were doing the archive project. And the guy who was sort of like the creative technologist, as he called himself, who was doing the web space and all the rest of this, was talking about how great it would be to have a completely immersive Carnival experience. So you could go into a room and you'd actually experience Carnival. And that sort of like has morphed over the years into sort of like, how could you give an experience of Carnival without actually being at Carnival for all sorts of reasons, people who are disabled, people who can't actually get there, all sorts of reasons. And there are two things that we're actually working on, and the prototype, I think, is on the website, is how to incorporate sort of like this into costumes. So with the augmented reality technology that we're looking at, is that you create stickers. So they're basically, you can print them out on your printer, but they're sort of like, you can put them on costumes. And then if you view it through the app, there's an activity that comes out of it. So you could print out a sticker that was a firework, and you can incorporate that into a costume. And for the people just who didn't have the app, then they'd just be walking down the road and they just see a costume. But for the people who have the app, they could see like fireworks shooting out of it, or people or faces or musical notes. So there's all sorts of stuff that you can actually incorporate into the costume. So that was the first thing. And that's one of the things that we tried, and I think that was on the website. The second thing is the hologram thing. So how do you do a 3D capture of a costume or a performance and actually be able to sort of like transmit that or view that again through the app? So it looks as if you've got a dancer on your table, or what we're actually working on is like a street scene that again has the stickers on it. And then when you look at the street scene, you see like a carnival going across the street scene and making that into a toy. But again, we've run out of money. So we're looking for various places to sort of like, who'll finance us for that sort of like technological experimentation, really, as well as sort of like funding us to do Carnival in a Box. So that's what we're looking at. So it's a way of actually allowing or working with artists like yourselves to actually enhance costumes, but it's also a way of sort of like bringing Carnival in a sort of like into your home. So as Mark, the guy who's sort of like leading this, says, like Carnival across your kitchen tabletop. So you can sit at home and watch this Carnival scene.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Tola. I don't know if any of you would like to speak to this idea of technology and creativity in Carnival.
I was just going to add on to Tola. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Pax.
Yeah, I was going to add to you that, before you reinvent the wheel, there is a game, it's like a game on a PSP. I'll try to find out what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
You go on it, you can actually get a mannequin. What do you call mannequin?
Yeah.
And you can go around it, and on top of it, painting, doing all sorts of things. When you finish, the whole design of whatever you're coming up with is there. If you want to do the wings and so on, it's all there. And the actual inside, doing it with a spray, or you decide you want to do with a brush, or you decide you want to do with a sewing machine, whatever. It's actually there. Yes, I'll try to find the name of it, because we've used it actually for designing something here, and it's
yeah, no, that would be fantastic. And it's sort of like how that's sort of like as well, being able to make your own costume and then seeing it perform on the table, that type of thing as well.
That's what it is. Like once you finish, let's say for example, you're doing a sketch of a wing, 3D wing.
Mm-hmm.
You finish doing that, then you can get it to actually print out the different parts of it, the different colors and so on. But when the kids are doing, they're just doing as a game, creating all sorts of things, but they don't go that far. But it could go beyond that.
Yeah, no, that sounds fantastic. I'd be very grateful to have a look at that. Really would.
Thank you for that. Blessing, I think I saw you. I can't hear.
Hear me? Speak louder.
Hello. Yeah, can hear you now.
Hello. My name is Blessing. I am from Zimbabwe, and I am 19 years old. And I am a freelance artist, dancer, and music producer. And I'm mainly under Alan for anything Carnival, because that's how I got introduced into Carnival, into Elimu and Notting Hill and stuff. And yeah, it's this like whole COVID has really changed any plans that we had, and it's just about adaptation. And I feel like it's just like any situation, it just depends on how you want to move on forward. For example, like how we have to change how we sort of do our artist process because of like these times too, especially with the online and the like augmented reality into Carnival. Like I would have never like linked them to, but that sounds like really, really cool, and it will really get like younger people into it too, because you know, like our generation is always on their phones, so you know, like it'll be popular. But yeah, and yeah, I feel like it's just we just have to like it kind of forces more creative in a way, in a weird different way, because maybe when like this is all over, we kind of gonna have that knowledge on top of like what we already had. So then we're gonna be like 60 like percent more even like better than we were before. So I think it's just like any situation can be viewed as a bad thing, but as an artist, what makes us as artists is adapting to any situation and always, you know, being creative, being artists.
I think that's a really good point about being adaptable, and leads into something else which I believe all of you have in common, which is this idea around, there's a lot of discussion, if you like, about environmental impact, sustainability, recycling. In my mind, though, particularly around carnival arts, creativity in terms of using what's available to you has been something that has always run through the very sort of veins of carnival. And so I just wanted to ask some of you about your sort of connections with sustainability, recycling, reusing. Pax, you're the obvious one to come through to first. You've got your Junkanoo logo up there. Can you talk to us a bit more about that project and how it came about?
Ray, don't laugh. Now, the Junkanoo, it came about, I think it's two things really. Some of the Trinidadians are going to kill me for this, but it's two things. We wanted to do a carnival whereby, because with me, I organize carnival in how I go in there, then I start working with the Russian community, I started working with the Spanish community, I started working with the Morris dancers. Nobody complains because we're in a village. When I come to London, if I do that, as soon as I bring the Morris dancers, what the heck are they doing there? So we said, let's do something that's a carnival whereby nobody tells me that's not carnival. So that was one, Junkanoo. The second thing is we were all locked indoors. And it was before Christmas. Everybody's going to get all their pre-Christmas presents. As you can see behind me, those are cardboards from all different wrappings and so on. So that was the other one, like really, let's get people to recycle. Don't throw away stuff. Don't buy anything new. Use that for making this. And then the third one is my experience of running Carnival, that we have to have these big, heavy lorries, generators, polluting everywhere. We're having fun, but it's when we finish, we've done a bit to the environment. So that was another thing. So through that, we came up with Junkanoo, which is like all the artists can interact. I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. It was just going to be on Boxing Day. The artists can come and talk with each other. We can find anything we show there is to do with recycling. So all the costumes that got made in the Bahamas and in Mahibar in Ghana, these are all made through using cardboard, and they come up beautiful, massive costumes. So that's how we came up with that. But my experience of actually working with trying to be environmental friend with Carnival, I've been working Carnival for the last 30 years or so. It's a challenge. At the moment, we've got Oxford Carnival, which I'm acting as a consultant artistic director. Our theme is Mother Earth. We're going to have 3 eco electric buses. We're going to have 3 minis sponsored by BMW. And all this just to sort of give the message that we need to be a bit more environmental friendly than it is. When I do Junkanoo videos, I show carnivals and activities that use recycled material. If anybody would tell you that most of it is actually coming from sort of what's so-called third world countries. There, then anything they do there, it's all, you know, if you, my young man, they would know, if you go Guriam Kuru in Zimbabwe, the dancer, everything they are wearing, there, nothing has been bought, it's all recycled. So that's all the stuff we do. So encouraging, it's a challenge, but I thought Junkanoo would be a very good way of challenging it. And then what I'm finding now, when I started in the first 2 months, most of the people who are serious carnivalists didn't want to be on it. But now they are hearing the link that we've got. Say artists come from Mexico. They're talking about their Moko Jombis there, and an artist in Ghana will say, "What's that about?" So people are communicating. All of a sudden, I'm getting people being interested. Through that, they will come because they want the publicity that they are getting from Junkanoo. But for me, I'm also trying to educate them on try to recycle. You can only come here if you recycle. So it's otherwise, all I can say is the biggest challenge we've got, sustainability is a big challenge in Carnival to educate people. That's so we thought Junkanoo would be another way, just educating people, entice them with what we do, and then when they go away, they'll think twice.
Fantastic, fantastic. Ali, I wanted to move to you because I know that environmentalism and that theme is quite strong with you in terms of your art and what you do. So I don't know if you can expand a bit more about that. You're on mute.
Unmute, Ali.
Yes, yeah, so since I left London, I was actually started walking and using artist-led walks as my practice. So sometimes I like to call that as slow carnival. So I've been creating and telling people, getting communities to tell their own stories by making these kind of really elaborate, large silk flags, which sort of have been walking around the landscape. And the project that we're about to launch, probably go public on it tomorrow, is called the Beach of Dreams. And it's a very, very slow, long carnival. It's 500-mile walk from Lowestoft to Tilbury. And the question that we'll be asking as we walk through all those communities is, how can we creatively reimagine our future? And it's on the UK coastline. And it was really the theme. I suppose I've taken the way that I conceive the carnival band into conceiving this really large walk. And so it came out of a piece of writing, which was called The Beach of Broken Dreams, which was a blog that came out of one of our previous walks. And it was looking at the fragments on the foreshore of the River Thames, where you've got washed up ceramics and washed up glass, things that have come up through the centuries. And the Thames just spews up all this stuff that had been like a dump. A lot of Thurrock is a dumping ground. And it was like, well, if we took this Beach of Broken Dreams and we collected the gems that are fragmented along our foreshore and we put them together, could we have a new picture for our future? So that's what the conversation will be. And we're inviting 500 people to sign up to one of the miles of the 500 miles of the walk. And when they adopt a mile, they'll take a picture of their fragmented foreshore and send it to us, and we'll turn it into a silk pennant. And so we'll have, and then when we've turned it into a silk pennant, they will go back and they'll walk that mile of the beach that they care about and talk about their connection to it, the connection to the actual physical landscape, whether it's a cliff that's eroded or it's something that they found on the beach, and then their memory of it, their connection back, and then their imagination for their great-grandchildren on the beach of the future. And this might be interesting to Ray, and to all of you, that I'm setting a challenge to myself, is that we are only going to use natural dyes. And I've never worked in natural dyes before, because obviously the dyes that we do use are chemical dyes. So we're going to try and do that. So we're going to go into a completely different color palette, which is going to be completely new for us. And I'm going to tell you now, it's a total experiment. So it might go wrong. We don't know what's going to happen. And 48 shades of sand, I'm calling it. Oh, Ray's looking amazed. And so, yeah, next week we're going to be boiling up tea urns of natural dye and putting our prototypes of hand-woven silk into the vats, and to see so it'll be a very different look from our usual Connecticut look, but it's also to see if it's sustainable. And also the silk that we now use, featured on Pax's Junkanoo, is that we are now importing our hand-woven silk from India, which was a legacy from the project. So we've moved from mass-produced Chinese silk, and that's to try and make the weavers' villages sustainable in West Bengal. So it's quite it's a long and slow process, but that's my slow carnival story.
Wow. I really love the kind of interconnectedness of that, and yeah, just that idea of what sustainability is, and it's not just this very sort of, I don't know, singularly focused one person doing something, but how you connect with other people as well, which I think is amazing. And it sort of leads me almost neatly into something that I wanted to ask Alan about, really. And I've read a little bit about you and this idea of spirituality, connecting with not only your design, but also being a Mokajumbi as well. And I wondered if you could just talk a little bit more about how the sort of spiritual influences your creativity as a designer and as a performer as well.
It's the starting point. It really is. It's the foundation for everything. Even the first designs I ever did, I was asked to design for a junior Mokajumbi band, and I thought I have to look. I did some designs, and I saw this wonderful thing which the Mokojumbis carried. And I thought, what is it? I need to understand what that is. Unless I can understand that, then I can't design good costumes. So I taught myself to walk stick, and then began to look into the history of it all. And it's a real true thing. And for me, it's very powerful that I started to walk stick in Taradale in South Trinidad, in what used to be sugarcane fields. And you can literally feel the vibrations as you're walking on the ground, because your connection is with the bottom of your stick to that ground, and every inch of that ground was cleared by the slaves. So you have that connection, and it rises up through your stick, and it's so powerful that it overcomes you. And almost every costume, every performance, that spirit carries with you. And so when I'm designing a costume, I just don't design for prettiness. I don't design for a costume anyone can wear. I know who's going to, we're only a small batch, I know everyone individually. So I know who that person is. I know what their spirit is. And so that affects how the costume is, because that person will walk that costume. And it's a very powerful connection, a powerful connection. I really think it's the foundation for everything. I mean, you get, when you're on, I mean, actually, I do get quite drunk as well when I'm on stick, so perhaps that helps. but sometimes it will so overtake you that you don't even know who you are. I did a powerful experience, briefly, a powerful experience happened to me when 2 years ago I'd snapped my Achilles tendon. My leg was the size of a balloon. It was huge. And yet I was in downtown Port of Spain on my sticks, and suddenly I had this huge surge of energy inside me. And it was, Eshu came to me. He took over my whole body. And I led the whole band at breakneck speed up through Piccadilly Greens, up to Belmont. No one could keep up with me. And literally, and as Moko Jumbas, we open ourselves to that. And all of our portrayal, our costume, everything feeds into that. So it's an absolutely central part of what we do, as what I do as a designer as well.
Thank you. That's just that idea of connection and just truly how it influences the art form is really quite powerful. We're coming up to sort of the final portion of this, and I could go on and on, but before we do wrap things up, Ray, I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about your career. And I read a little article where you speak about working in Peter Minshall's band in the 80s. And I just really wanted to try and connect that up and ask you about how how your creative process, or the creative process, worked for you back then, and how that compares with now. Have things changed? Have you changed? Or is it largely the same? Do you draw on those sort of older influences still today?
Sound, Ray, we can.
Pax, leave me alone. Working in Trinidad, and the older style of mask back then, not now. It was a learning experience to be able to absorb the tradition of the real tradition of Carnival. I mean, Carnival has evolved over the years. I'm not the youngest thing in the world, so I've been around the block in terms of Carnival. So working back then and working with Minshall in particular, you got more the feel and depth of a costume that you wore. So as Alan said, you actually, one of the things I've learned back then, and one of the things I take throughout my life is not just the costume you wear and you portray the costume. So the importance of Carnival for me is being able to portray a costume. So you don't just put on a costume and enjoy mask. The true meaning of mask is to actually put on something and become that character and become that whole thing, and the feeling the feeling and the passion you have for that creation you're wearing is very important. And that is something I learned way back when living in Trinidad, working with Minchel, being part of that generation. And up to today, it is still part of my life. I mean, going back to when I came here working with Ali for Notting Hill, one of the important factors and one of the things that still feeds through those days with Ali to now is actually designing around words. So you don't just design a costume and say, you see sometimes now when you see they have a banner about Egypt, but there's no depth into it. What is important for me and working with Ali back then and coming from Trinidad is the fact that you work from words, and words are important to give you that depth of creation. And it's something I suppose Alan has that, what Alan was talking about, the feeling you get of mass and everything. Those are sort of the important factors of being a designer, if I want to say being a designer or creator of costume. It's something that we need to feel and go a little more deep than just making a costume that says Egypt or making something that says whatever you think you're making. So for me, the depth of mass, the history of mass, the history of tradition is important. It has always been part of my life. It is still important in my life in terms of my creation then. Just a little bit in terms of recycling. In 2017, I came to the stage in life that I couldn't create anymore. And I say that because as I just said, we're going through about 20 years of costume stock. So I kind of reached the stage of, oh my God, am I going to make another 200 costumes to sit in my studio? So since 2017, 18, I started to do recycling. So I work with Ali. I worked on a lot of projects on recycled art, working with schools and looking at recycled art. But in terms of Notting Hill, we've started recycling all of our costumes, merging 2 years, 3 years. I just created some costumes for school where I put 4 years of costume together to make one costume. So we're now taking, when we did the stock, we're now matching parts from different years, what we have already in stock, and creating new pieces out of it. So in terms of the company and recycling, I'm very much into recycling. I'm very much into what we're doing with what we're doing with the earth right now. So Pax did say that how some of the elements of Carnival can be a bit tricky in terms of becoming totally eco-friendly. But the way we're looking at the eco-friendly element is taking what we have and using it instead of making new or buying new. That's part of what we're doing as a company in terms of recycling and eco-friendly way of looking at Notting Hill especially. I mean, a lot of the project we're doing now is recycled art. So it's looking at that. But so again, going back to my work is based on traditional mass, mixing it with modern day work. So I've spent a lot of time and yes, we are now looking at how we take that digitally and how we involve more people in terms of the art form.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So I just wanted to, a very really quick question I wanted to ask everybody is if you have anything that's coming up in the near future or that you just want to get out there in terms of saying a few words about what you're doing next. Now would be a really good time for you to do that. So are there any projects or anything that you guys would like to talk about very briefly now? Pax, go for it. Quick on the draw.
To tell you the truth, I'm just rewinding, really. You're going to kill me for that. I'm just rewinding from what everybody is saying. One of them is, I think most of this stuff is on Jankanu anyway. When I had a conversation with Ray, it's a very, very inspiring conversation where people get these costumes and wear and just go with it. But between me and him, we actually measured some of the people we work with, whereby you give them a costume. They want to know the history of it before they wear it, and they actually own it. That is one weakness in Carnival. The other stuff, again, also on Jankanu is Ali's thing that she's doing. You know, on top of what she just, this glamorous work she's done, there is also a certain element which is actually helping people survive, like the you could say more Ali if you want to, but the people who make the silk element in India, where they totally ignored. She's coming in as this one person and doing the natural helping. So I'm saying Carnival, apart from what we are saying, can be used for a lot of different things of helping people. Alan, if I go back to your religious thing, this is the thing I always so find the difference between the Trini Carnival and the Brazilian Carnival. If you go to Pernambuco further up there, Carnival is very, very religious. There are places where they put their stuff. It's very much like a religious thing. They have to really look into the Orisha gods and so on. That element doesn't exist here. So I'm just saying, would like to encourage you to do that. In terms of projects coming up, that is really, for me, it's on the 4th of July. We're doing Oxford Carnival. The theme is Mother Earth, so everything's completely to do with the environment. We won't be using anything funny that's not recycled. Jankanu next Saturday, that might be our last one because we've been doing this without any funding. So I need to take time to actual fundraise for it.
Thank you, Pax. Tola?
I just wanted to say that there is a religious element still. You can see it in Carnival, but it's quite hidden over here. So you hear things like people say things like, well, Ishi, or they talk about the Orishas or stuff like that, but they talk about it in a very hidden way. So, I mean, part of my research is actually looking at that and drawing out. I just wanted to say that. Yeah, so hopefully I'm going to be doing more research. I'm talking to somebody about writing a chapter of a book tomorrow about Carnival and music. Writing papers all the time. So one of the things that I would find really helpful is that, if I write something and you like it, that's great. If I write something and you think that's complete rubbish, that woman doesn't know what she's talking about, for the love of God, tell me, because this is what we're doing. And I don't want to, because I was very well brought up in Carnival, and I was always told from the very beginning that people come to Carnival and they take from it and they don't give back. And I don't want to be one of those people who goes around being asked to speak at things, writing chapters in books and things like that doesn't represent Carnival or yourselves. So, if I write something you don't, or you hear that I've said something that's complete bollocks, please tell me, and I won't be offended. I'll be really, really grateful. And yeah, fundraising for Carnival in a box too. That's what I'm up to.
Noted, Tola. Noted.
So Tola, sorry. One quick thing, Tola. If it's not the Brazilian groups in UK, I don't know any other carnival that relates to the religious.
Well, there's a lot of sort of like I say, it's very, very hidden. It's very, very hidden. But you'll hear people talking about Trini Carnival, and you'll talk to people about catching the spirit. You'll hear them talking about possession. You'll hear them talking about it in the way that Ray was talking about it, and the way that Alan was talking about it. And if you push them a bit further, then they might talk about Shango baptism or things that happen back in Trinidad that they're bringing with them. So it's not like a very obvious thing, but it is sort of like part of what motivates people to behave and make the costumes that they do and go on the road and do the things that they do. So that's, read my article, Pax.
And Ali, sorry, final word to you.
So if you want to get involved and you want to sign up to one of our 500 miles, and check out Connecticut website, the announcement will come officially on the 8th of March. But also, if you want to get down to Tilbury and hear the new version of London is a Place for Me, with Reuben Fox and the Connecticut Blocko playing it, then I think that might be handing over to the next generation in a really appropriate place.
Fantastic. Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to all of you this afternoon. Thank you ever so much for your time. And yeah, like I said, it's been absolutely fantastic. So thank you.
Again, I always say the last thing. I'm fed up with Alan. Alan, you trying to remind me of my youth. That's not good. Do you know what I mean? That Zimbabwe there is reminding me when I was a young kid. Yeah.
Wonderful. Circle, Pax. Our lives are circles. Right. Thanks again, everybody. And take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks very much.
Ciao.
Bye. Bye. Bye.